Good evening. Today is Tuesday, second day of a full week. It's August 20th, 2024. Our goal here is to review today's market generated information in a holistic fashion. We are intimately following the auction's narrative of both ES and NQ. If we have time, we'll theorize and add additional commentary towards the end. We did speculate in the market today. If you'd like to see our real time analysis, please see the video on our account for August 20th. I do use these archives as a tool for my professional development. All right, let's get started. So, we'll typically ask ourselves what are our questions to start the day. We have a good understanding of where we've been. Again, really not too much has changed. You can see our bull flag for our weekly close on a Friday, and this was last week, our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, with our rally base, rally base, rally base, rally on a Monday. Even with low volume, low volatility, we're still able to continue this pattern, catching people off guard. And what do you know it? We ended up basing again. Though it may be red, still basing indeed. Same situation here on the NQ. Really not too much to go off of here. We're still closing above, very nice and strong. This doesn't mean that we're going to flip bullish here. This is just another part of the price action of just balancing out, taking a little rest. Before we look any deeper at the footprint or the market profile, I do want us to take a look at the macro side of things and see exactly where and who performed. All right, let's see. We're actually going to go back to the earnings. So today, again, is Tuesday, so you can take a pause here and kind of look at these. Nothing super impactful, but just good to be aware. We have our, I did just record this a while ago and I needed to reset it because I didn't have my screen orientation. So just bear with me. I'm kind of a little scattered, a little upset, but I'm redoing it because I genuinely love this. But I digress. So we have Wednesday, again, August 21st. We have our FOMC minutes. So again, we're not expecting this to be too much here, but something to be on the lookout for. You may see some basing ahead of time. Who knows what we'll see, to be honest. We're just seeing a lot of indecision right now. We're not sure what the market is waiting on. We don't really have a narrative. So at this point, we really just got to sit in our hands until something develops and we have some insight of where we're going. Because as of right now, we're just in like short squeeze mode. We'll take a look at our sector tracker. Here you can see that the leader we had to the downside was going to be energy, though they are lighter. So take that with a grain of salt. If you look at our homework from last night, you will see that we're primarily focused on discretionary technology and consumer staples. We wanted to see how the defensive stocks were going to do, like XLP, XLV, industrials, and utilities. See how they would do on a balanced day. It's nice to see the consumer staples actually leading to the upside alongside healthcare. There was something going on with them recently. We were kind of eyeballing them, but just want to just keep an eye on our XLF and XLV and possibly XLP. We're having these balanced days. They're not gonna hold us firm, but just nice to see the distribution of the capital. So again, we have our sector tracker here. We understand what the economic calendar looks like for tomorrow. Today we didn't really have anything. We just had some Fed speeches, no kind of data at all. So we're just pretty much just kind of drifting. So it makes sense for us to be undecided, just balancing sideways. So again, we understand where we're coming from, which was the extremely strong short squeeze and the bull flag continuation. The goal was mainly to balance sideways. Nothing too special there. We got that done. We understand how the sectors perform. We can see everybody held down for the most part. Nice to see consumer staples and healthcare leading for us. We'll take a look at the daily footprint. And again, I just did this video not too long ago, so pardon me if I'm a little rushed. But we do have some more insights that we gleaned, so we'll be able to articulate this a little better. So this is lighter volume, more than yesterday and Friday. We do have some negative action here, so we do have some sellers left over, but this is just lower overall. Not really too much to look into here. You can see we have, if these sellers are still active, they'll have somewhat favorable position. Still trying to continue for the overnight session so far. We look at ES. Notice the heavy delta to the downside. The range for NQ was 188, by the way. We have 36 for ES. Look at the freaking delta. I'm not sure what to make of this, given the low range and low volatility. Low range, low volatility, and the low volume. My apologies. We have more volume than we did yesterday, but less than the rest of what we've seen from July and even recently of this month so far, as of last week. So this is going to be a big clue to whatever actions happen. I did put a zone on the market profile for the sellers here. 43,000 sellers is a lot, even for lower volume. So someone's loading up here. I'm not exactly sure what's going on. We'll need more information. We did look at this on the 65-minute for the footprint. Again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look at the volume. It's very nice overall, more than yesterday, the first hour and 5 minutes. Delta is very strong. You can see where they're positioned. Buyers had to really force. Let's actually break this down a little bit because we had our open drive for our candles, for our 3-minute candles. We'll look at those shortly. Let's look at this on the 15 minutes because we understand that the first hour and 15 minutes had that big of a sell imbalance, but that wasn't the case initially because let's actually do 30 minutes. See if we can get this a little cleaner so you can see it by the brackets. Yeah, the second 30 minutes, the second bracket and third bracket was more than the first. Lighter volume, a lot of sell, a lot of ask, a lot of buyers, a lot of urgency for that first bit, and then it just completely stopped. Again, we did see this on the Dom, and we were saying just how shocking this was that it just completely stopped. Um, all the volume was done at the low, so that sell imbalance is just really massive, especially to be towards the end. The buyers were absolutely stuffing the sellers. There was no kind of progress, and they were just really churning their wheels. So just wanted to take a look at their first hour for sure. And then the selling continued, double the delta, even more towards the end. So there's just a lot of selling going on, not really much progress. So again, we can't look too much into this. This is information that we'll need to not necessarily trade off for today, but 100% make a zone on our market profile so we can look for that in the future. And again, we did just do this video, so some of this is already done. But we had singles that was here and here, I believe, for our prior day for Monday. And I'm sorry, the singles were here and about here. So if we expand our session for today on Tuesday, the singles were pretty much eaten up in here, and then we got the last little bit towards that bottom section there. We went ahead and did a drawing for the 5627s to 5617s, which is where all those sellers were on the footprint. So we'll have that as a reference, which is also the volume pointer control zone, the high volume node for our session. So again, above this is bullish, below this is possibly bearish, but do remember that we have a lot of possible support below us and just these volume pointer control zone for our composite that goes back to April. So this is just one sign. This is just one sign for the buyers, one sign for the sellers. Just something to take into consideration. Doesn't mean we're going to be bearish from here. Doesn't mean we're going to be bullish and we're going to continue short squeezing. But it's just interesting to see all the negatives, the negative delta. So we'll go ahead and look at the NQ as well. I was really eyeballing them to see if they were going to test this VPOC zone of the volume point of control for the composite that goes back to April, but we didn't reach it. We didn't reach it. The profile here was just another normal day. There was a lot of singles. There was 4 different singles for the NQ's profile in here and in here. The Tuesday's action ended up eating up some of those candles, but they stopped right before these last two. So we still have a few more. So really not too much going on. We just build volume higher, which was an accomplishment for the bulls. And notice we had this big gap zone here, this big value, this big valley inside of value. So we ended up creating a zone, which is why it's gray. Not saying that it's going to be key or anything, but don't be surprised if we kind of trade around it and end up building volume in that area. And then we also have the 2 singles from Monday that we can still break through. And then we have the weekly high volume node from last week. That is at the 1600s. Let me confirm. The 570s, actually, 19570s. So again, not saying it's going to be any kind of bearishness, but it's a possibility for us to kind of sneak down here. But we have some big areas to contend with. If we can get under those, then we have more singles, but the same situation to the upside as well. So again, we do have this big zone here above us. This is very important to keep an eye on. All right. So again, the goal for the buyers today was to continue their balancing act after the impulses, and they did a good job, especially with the negative sellers, negative delta from the sellers. Very nice for them to hold these prices higher, and the passes really came out to play today. So this was a nice small win for the buyers on both sides. It's very solid overall. All right, let's look at this candle structure. Again, we had no 530 data, so it's only so much that we could glean from this in real time. So we're just kind of floating around. So we're just going to see how we trade it in reference to the prior day, that is. So again, we have our prior RTH here and our overnight balance, balance high, balance low, opened in the middle, a low to high day with a trend up and a strong close. That is where we're coming from. So we open, we balance, we trade higher above. We ended up balancing again. We tried to do another leg up. We ended up balancing and then testing the downside to start the RTH session. Still within the higher quartile, the higher quarter of the prior day's range. Looking at the actual RTH. Again, please look at our account, our video for today. You'll be able to see the DOM. See this in real time. This was an open drive behavior. Basically, the low is the open. There was no look back, higher highs and higher lows the entire time for A bracket. There was no huge, massive volume, but there was consistent lifting of offers and passives being filled on both sides. Buyers were chasing it up with passives and buying with markets, and sellers with bigger size were getting filled. Once we reached the overnight high, actually, let me double check. Yeah, this is actually for the NQ. The NQ actually did not reach their overnight high, as you can see here. This was a lower high. Once we reached up here, the DOM completely stopped. There was just no kind of activity. There was no attempt from the buyers. The lifting stopped, and it was straight passives. And with the passives we did have, there's pretty much a bid pool. We had our stop run, and no real sellers, no real buyers wanted to apply force or sustain value within this IB range. There was some activity towards the lows. We had our initiative candle that had no kind of progress, so this was invalidated. We ended up drifting down, still looking for buyers. You can see some of the activity here. We ended up having an attempt here, but of course, this only went up to about the 50, ended up closing as a bearish candle, another outside bar, and then we had our initiative candle, and then a little nice continuation, ended up getting engulfed. But ideally, we were holding that top third of this initiative bar. So just kind of using this as an example, something I'm going to start working on just to see how we traded around here. This may be a situation where I need to start using these initiative candles the same way I do the SOCs, which essentially is just it's the same thing for the most part. But we ended up testing above it, hitting the DGPs, the IB high, the IB low rather, holding above, bouncing between the IB low and the top of this zone here, the initiative candle. Ended up impulsing through, nice engulfer, continuing through the IB low, through the RTH VWAP, and then the full session VWAP as well. Ended up breaking through, getting into this initial balance range here, and then it just stopped again. No real activity, no real urgency to the upside, just a bid pull for the most part, and then we slide down the 5 smoothing average back under the initial balance low. Ended up breaking through this initiative candle again, but we ended up holding it. Very nice. Ended up holding these lows, cradling under, fighting our way to get back above this 5 smoothing average. A nice little trend up, and then we really just balanced for the rest of the day. Nothing too special from that point. And we're still kind of holding above this even in the overnight session. I'm actually going to make a note about that. One moment. All right, noted. Let's take a look at the ES. It's going to be the same situation here. The only difference is there was a break above the the overnight high rather. But same situation, same behavior, same open drive, um, same lethargic action. Once we looked above and failed, there was no activity at all. Like absolutely activity. Please watch the video so you can see my real-time analysis. It's very important for you to see that on the DOM just to see the change of pace. This was like a +3, maybe +2 at the weakest. This, I don't know what this was. This halfway from the IB high to the IB low, this was very interesting to see that switch. This threw me off guard. And then the damn hold on, let me see the trade bubbles. We should be able to see. Yeah, there's a lot of action, a lot of forcing at these lows. Someone was just eating all this up. This is all that negative delta that we saw on the um, on the footprint. All right, we'll go ahead and this. But again, same situation. Once we hit this IB low, we broke above. I'm sorry, once we hit this IB low and then we had our little legs down, we ended up finding the same initiative candle. I want to see what this looks like for the ES. Again, it's going to be partially hindsight. We just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, definitely you can see a lot of this action was still taken at the lows opposed to them kind of trading above it. But we're trading above that area now, but we're still below this area up here between the 5630s. So again, not really too much there. So again, we're able to knock this out fairly quickly. Really don't have too much notes outside of we need to review today's actions. I didn't do the best as far as my participation. I ended up hitting my daily loss limit, but that's what it's there for. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm here to learn, and I'm going to do some more reviewing. So we're able to keep this under 20 minutes. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Again, we just had the minute, so things should be pretty tamed. Have a good night.